Welcome back to another episode of Even Tacos Fall Apart, where we dive deep into the messy, raw, and oh-so-real aspects of mental health. I'm MommaFoxFire, your host and fellow journeyer through the ups and downs of life. Today, we're tackling a topic that affects millions of people worldwide, and that's bipolar disorder. This isn't a fluffy, sugar-coated discussion. We are getting real here today. We're going to roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, and dive headfirst into the nitty-gritty of living with bipolar disorder. But before we jump in, I want to take a moment to acknowledge something important. Mental health isn't always sunshine and rainbows. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's downright tough at times. And that's okay, because that's life. Even when our tacos fall apart, we embrace the messy, we embrace the struggles. And most importantly, we embrace ourselves exactly as we are, flaws and all. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder characterized by extreme shifts in mood, energy, and activity levels. And those shifts can be a roller coaster ride like no other. From the soaring highs of mania to the crushing lows of depression, it's a whirlwind of emotions that can leave you feeling like you're riding a never-ending emotional roller coaster. But living with bipolar disorder isn't just about managing those highs and lows. It's about navigating the complexities of daily life while balancing your mental health and well-being. It's about finding coping mechanisms that work for you, whether that's through therapy, medication, or good old-fashioned self-care. And that's where our guest today, Nina Jefferson, comes in. Nina is a powerhouse advocate for mental health, and she's here to share her personal journey with bipolar disorder. From the challenges she's faced to the lessons she's learned along the way, Nina's story is one of resilience, strength, and unwavering determination. Before we dive into our conversation with Nina, I want to take a moment to remind you that you are not alone. Whether you're living with bipolar disorder yourself or supporting a loved one who is, there's a community here for you. A community that understands, that empathizes, and that lifts you up when you need it the most. So grab a cup of tea, cozy up on the couch, and get ready for some real talk about living with bipolar disorder. Because here at Even Tacos Fall Apart, we're all about keeping it real. No sugarcoating, no fluff, just raw, unfiltered truth. So let's dive in. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Mental Health Monday. I am super excited for tonight's conversation. I think it's going to be great. I've already had a wonderful conversation with our guest tonight on her podcast, and I'm honored to have her here with me tonight. So our guest tonight is Nina Jefferson, and we are going to be talking about her experience living with bipolar disorder and also her podcast as well, which is called Nina, I am not my illness. So I'm very, very happy to have you here with me today, Nina. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on this show. I'm very glad to be here.
Absolutely. So we were having some audio issues earlier. So if those continue or if we have to restart or something, just holler and we'll be just fine. But everyone's used to, like, I wind up having, technical difficulties. It's just fine. So for those of you who are here in the chat, remember that we do have a question queue open. If you have any questions for our guest, feel free to pop them in and we'll make sure to address them while we are live here together today. So a little bit about Nina. Nina is a podcaster with a podcast, which I already mentioned, called Nina, I Am Not My Illness. She's also studying to be a certified life coach and is a brand ambassador for two brands, Known in Heaven and Just Strong. Her goal is for listeners to navigate through their experiences of mental illness by using her own personal experience with mental illness. And I've got several different socials if you're looking to connect with Nina or find her podcast. I've got lots of different ways that you can find her. And let's see, there we go. Those should be posted in the chat. So feel free to click through to any of those. And Nina, I'm just so excited to talk to you. I think this is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I've had the podcast now. It'll be 3 years on the 17th.
Wow.
I just became a brand ambassador about a couple months ago for the two brands. And I'm also working on a book that's entitled Nina, I Am Not My Illness. Hopefully I can get it out if I stop procrastinating within the next 3 to 6 months.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Yeah, I
That's
didn't
what
know
I'm
you were
working
working on a book. That's amazing.
on.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and also I'm studying to be a certified life coach, and hopefully I can impact lives through my coaching abilities and get my first clientele, first two clients by the first quarter of next year. I mean, because this year's almost at a close, and I want to get certified by the end of the year before I start gaining clients and what have you.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really exciting. And I mean, there are lots of folks who really love being a life coach and everything. So, what interests you in being a life coach? Why is that something that you're drawn to?
What interests me in being a life coach?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because I've always wanted to help people. First of all, I wanted to be a nurse, but that didn't pan
Mm.
out. But then I thought to myself, why not use my story for being bipolar as a tutelage for people to live their best life, and I could be serve as a life coach for them and show them that there is a way that they can live a fulfilling lifestyle. They don't have to live in the dark. They can be have a means of living their best lifestyle. That's the best way I can put it. So this is why
Yeah.
I chose this. I believe that this is my calling. I mean, and this is what I would like to do.
You know, I think sometimes a lot of us who have been through a lot of shit in our lives, like we're drawn to serve others and to help others. And that's something that I think is really cool. So it's very cool, very neat of you to be like, you know, I want to help other people, even though I've been through so much in my own life. I want to take energy I have and pour that into other people as a life coach. I think that that's really cool.
Yeah,
So,
that's always I've always had a calling to help people, and this is where it falls in alignment. And also me wanting to be a motivational speaker as well. I'm working on that. So I'm working on wearing many hats for 2024 going forward.
yeah.
And this is just my way of doing it, just being a blessing the way others have inspired me to be a blessing. And that's what I want to do.
That's awesome.
And this is where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy doing when you're not busy with work and you're not busy learning and you're not busy podcasting? What do you enjoy?
What I enjoy doing the most is being with my family, taking care of my daughter and being with my granddaughter, especially because she's such a joy. That's my babies, you know, my daughter, my granddaughter, and just being around family. I'm very family oriented. I think it's very crucial and important. I love doing self care, like getting my hair done, nails and feet. When I can, I love to go shopping, that kind of thing. So those things are very important when it comes to self care. And also things I love to enjoy doing to just to keep myself up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean you definitely have to have those things that are like you know, I want to make sure that I am taken care of and like that sort of that sort of thing. So, it sounds like you're doing your best there. So, that's really good. So, do you have a true
Yeah.
crime story that fascinates you or a serial killer that fascinates you?
What about a true crime story you said?
Do you have a true crime story that fascinates you?
Um, my favorite true crime story, believe it or not, is Snap.
Okay.
I like watching Snapped on Oxygen only because the women, it's like, it's a story behind the story. I
Yeah.
mean, I know my husband gets on me all the time. He says, why are you watching this show? These women crazy and they do the most heinous crime. And I said to myself, but you don't understand it. Not all women don't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm gonna ask this man, oh, I'm gonna kill this woman. No, they had to have been driven to a point of no return. Something must have played in their mind for them to do the most heinous crimes. Not that I'm excusing it, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But it's like, in some instances, I understand why the crime took place in the way that it did. Like, certain people, not saying that the victim deserved it, but certain instances, like certain victims, if you listen to the storyline and you watch how it all plays out, it's like, oh, okay, so the victim did this to this woman and she was scorned. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Not that I'm condoning it, because I'm nobody that woman, but I'm just saying it's very certain little instances. I'm like, I understand. Don't like it, but I understand.
Yeah. Well, and
So
we've talked about that a lot. Like, it's not necessarily the fascination with true crime, the fascination with serial killers. It's not necessarily like with the act itself. It's kind of the what got them to that point. And that show that you're talking about, Snapped, like it's all about what got them to that point, like what happened in their lives to drive this awful act. And you're right, it's not about the victims deserving it or anything like that, but it's like what happened in this person's life to make their brain be like, this is the action you need to take. So,
exactly.
hey, Autumn, how are you today? We've got a chat open. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in. We're talking about bipolar disorder, and we're about to get into that right now. So if anybody is here and would like to ask any questions, feel free to go ahead and pop them in, and we'll get them going. And I apologize. I know I'm sniffling. I have allergies really bad today, so please forgive the sniffles.
It's okay.
So, can you describe?
It's okay. Jump right in, ask anything.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how living with bipolar disorder has shaped your daily life in general and kind of your routine? How has it affected you?
Okay, so when you have bipolar disorder, it changes you. Well, when I first had it 20 years ago, no one was really talking about it at all. It was more or less a very taboo. It was like, you have bipolar disorder. No one knew how to treat it. I mean, and it was just coming out. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now. No one knew how to treat bipolar disorder, and it was like, it was the stigma around it. People were like, "Oh my God, she has bipolar. She's crazy. Oh my God, I don't want to deal with her." And then there's so many cases that were coming out back to back. It wasn't enough psychiatrists that could diagnose and nor could they treat it. It was hard. The first 4 years, I was diagnosed at Thanksgiving 2001. I think the first 3 to 4 years, it wasn't until June 2004 that I actually was out of the hospital. I was going in and out of psychiatric wards. And I came home and I was living my life, going to it's not going to meetings, but I was going to the PAC teams, or it's called PACT team meetings, and I will go and do that for like the first, I want to say, 8 years of me coming out. But then I technically, they call graduated from the program and got my own psychiatrist. Everything was working okay. I moved. 3 years later, I had my daughter, and for the first 5 years of having my daughter, everything was fine. Now, I had a setback, and I had to go back into the psych ward. I go into the psych ward for 22 days, 21 nights, and it was very much hell. And I literally said to myself, oh my God, like, I really thought I was never going to make it home. And the horrors, this unspeakable acts that was done, I said, I won't wish that on my worst enemy. But it was a learning curve for me to say, I'm not going to keep going backwards, but I'm going to keep moving forward. Because I'm a little girl to think about. You know what I mean? Because God forbid, if I don't get it right, what's going to end up happening is she's not going to have a healthy mind to come home for me to come home to, and she's going to look at me and be she's going to be afraid of me. I don't want my daughter to be afraid of me. I don't want my daughter to look at me and say, I don't want nothing to do with my mother because how she's going. I don't know. One day she's going to be this, next day she's going to be that. So that's what bipolar looks like. I mean, if you don't take your medications on a daily basis and you're not consistent in your approach, then you're going to have run the risk of having a trigger turn into an episode, and eventually you're going to go into full mania mode. So I encourage those that who are dealing with a form of a mental illness, whether it's bipolar disorder, CPTSD, or paranoid schizophrenia, or whatever the case is, to go ahead and get the help that you need. Okay, don't be afraid to get help because it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not get the help because you have to get the help. And I encourage that for all my listeners, my podcast, to get the help that they need.
Yeah, and that's something that we talk about a lot here too. It's like, look, you might be going through some stuff and maybe you're trying to hide it from everyone around you, or you're like, no, I'll just push through. But the reality is if you don't take care of yourself, other people are going to be affected by that too. So you gotta make sure. And it sounds like you did the right thing by your daughter, for your family in general. So I commend you for just taking care, prioritizing and doing what you needed to do in that moment. That's a hard thing to decide. Like, yes, this is, I'm going to go inpatient for as long as it takes to get better, and to get to a point where I am going to be, okay. So, are there specific challenges that you've faced living with bipolar disorder that you would like others to understand about those who have this diagnosis, or things like that? Anything you want to share as far as challenges that a lot of folks face?
Well, there's challenges that come with having a mental illness. With my bipolar disorder, uh, sometimes I have a hard time with being able to walk. Like, for example, I used to be able to walk around my complex without a problem. But now, I mean, sometimes with having bipolar disorder, I have a hard time just walking to the garbage can and back without having a problem because I'm afraid of the heights because I'm short. But I think it's a height complex that I have. And then on top of that, when I'm riding in a car, I get car motion sickness. And that came on way after I had bipolar disorder. But those are the challenges that I face. Certain challenges I face are like my mood swings. I do have a lot of mood swings, and I don't know if it's because of my age, because well over 40, going on 50. And I'm like, well, anybody that knows women, and then you're pushing 50, what's happening? You're going through the M word, menopause. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's the bipolar disorder. And on top of that, I had brain surgery maybe 2 years ago on the 17th this month that I had brain surgery, and I'm still kind of recovering from that because I had two shows back to back from 2021, and I was having seizures. I don't have those anymore, thank God. But those are the little challenges. It's not really big, of challenges. I get up just like anybody else. I do what I have to do, brush my teeth, uh, bathe, get dressed. Um, I do those things like everybody else. The one thing I want people to understand: when a person has a mental illness, it doesn't mean they don't live, especially people like me who are living and functioning on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't mean that they are to be looked at in a different way. We don't like to be labeled and say, oh, she has bipolar disorder, or he has this. Oh my God, we don't want to go anywhere near them. We're not contagious people. You know what I'm saying? It's not a communicable disease where you're going to catch a mental illness. Who knows? You may be the next person that's going to have it regardless, because you don't know. People need to get educated on the topic. There was a lady in this app called the Clubhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And in the Clubhouse, I was talking about the subject of mental illness, and she was heckling me. She said, nobody's listening to you. There's no such thing as mental illness. I don't know why you're talking about it. Oh, please. I mean, she just looking for any reason to be ignorant. And I said, oh my God. I said, and the fact that I didn't engage her, I blocked her. I said, what we have to talk about? We have nothing to talk about. So I say this to say that be careful of how you approach this subject, because this is not your everyday subject, but it needs to be an everyday subject. It needs to be talked about, and needs to have more awareness to be brought out. And people don't want to talk about it because they're afraid. But then when you have your loved ones that are committing suicide in the name of mental illness, you're saying, oh, well, this person Billy didn't have any problems. We didn't see it coming. Oh, was he on the? No, he wasn't on drugs. He just took his life for no reason. A person's not going to take their life for any reason. You leave a note behind. I mean, he had to say something. All the signs are there.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of times where people will say, okay, well, like, all right, so right now my allergies are bothering me, right? That's clear. My eyes are watering. I'm sniffling everything. Like it's a very clear there's something wrong with me today, And it's hard to say like, oh, well, because I have major depressive disorder. It's hard for someone to say like, okay, well, you have depression, so but you're not just lying in bed. Like, no, I mean, I have shit to do. I have to function. I have to do all this stuff. So it's hard for other people to be like accepting and more aware of what these things really are, because you think of something like bipolar and some people conjure a very specific image of that person in their head immediately. Like at one word, they've already got a picture, a preconceived notion of what you are, of what you do, of how you act and everything. Same with a lot of other mental illnesses. It's just like, yeah, but that's not everyone's experience. You may have had an experience with one person who has this condition, but maybe you haven't had an experience with this other person. So, I feel like there's also a lot of kind of misconceptions around bipolar disorder in particular. I had an ex who used to claim that his wife was bipolar, and I would challenge him on it and be like, well, what do you mean by that? Oh, her mood is just all over the place. I'm like, that's not really what bipolar disorder is. So that's, maybe she has a mood disorder of some sort, but just because someone is moody, also he was an ass. So like, I understand her being moody. But are there some misconceptions about bipolar disorder that you wish people were more educated about?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of misconceptions surrounding bipolar disorder that I wish people would know, educate themselves on, is just because a person is bipolar doesn't mean that we don't have feelings. We do have feelings. We're not made of stone. Um, just because a person has bipolar does not mean that we're going to go from one extreme to the next. There are people who have bipolar disorder who are successful, who are living their best life, and who are, I mean, even whether they're famous or not, that they're actually doing what they're supposed to do to keep themselves well on a daily basis. We just take necessary steps to keep ourselves well. We have to, some of us, like me, I have to take my medications every night because I want it to set in while I'm sleeping. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm refreshed and I can start my day. I don't like taking my medications in the daytime because I want to be able to be alert and functioning while I'm taking care of my daughter and getting her ready for school. So that's why I opt to take the pills at night at the same time. And my doctor was like, that's fine. As long as you take them at night, you'll be okay in the morning. So far, so good. So, and another misconception about us that I don't like is people think that because you have bipolar disorder or any mental illness that you're crazy. I'm not crazy. We just think on a different level. That really is the saddest thing. Don't say to a person who has a mental illness, oh, this person is crazy because they have bipolar. No, we just think on a different level. We react on a different level. We didn't ask to have bipolar disorder. We had this because this is what is upon us. I mean, in a lot of cases, it's hereditary. I believe it's hereditary because of the fact that, like, if you look at the lineage on both my parents' side of the family, both sides of my family, my mother's side of the family has it, and so does my father. So it was only natural that I was going to get it at some point. You know what I mean? So I just wish that we just curb the ignorance and just start picking up a book and saying, hey, we're going to start paying attention and bring more awareness to start saving lives, because people are really like not they're not taking it seriously and think that it won't happen to them or their loved ones until it happens to one of their loved ones or to them. And then they're like, why do I have these feelings of depression? Why am I feeling so anxious? Why is this going on? Why do I feel this way? I don't know. And then when we try to get help, you're afraid to get help. And I'm like, you don't have to be afraid. You'd be surprised that you're not alone. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of really good comments in the chat just saying like that's just one of many neurotypes, and a lot of the times the things that people associate with something like bipolar disorder might be something like borderline personality disorder, and people just aren't willing to educate themselves a little bit, like just take a little bit of time and really look into what you're talking about, and the labels that you put on other people, because they really can be hurtful if you don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, I mean, there's just so much that could be fixed. I feel like in the whole world, if everyone would just educate themselves a little more about so many different things.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm just putting the charger on my phone
Oh,
so I
all
don't lose
good.
any power.
Yep, all good. Are there specific coping mechanisms or strategies that have been particularly helpful for you?
Coping mechanisms for me that work are I meditate a lot. I usually use the YouTube channel when I'm under a lot of stress and there's a lot of pressure going on surrounding me. I turn on the YouTube channel, I get on the meditation music, and I just close my eyes and I just zone out and I get clarity. And I'm like, I thought it feel a lot better, and it helps me forget about all that's going on. And I start to really put everything in alignment and just start focusing on what it is that I really need to do. And from that point on, I'm like, oh, okay. And then that's when I get my aha moment. And I really just go from there. I really just go from there. So then from that, what else I do for coping is I excuse me, I pray a lot. Prayer changes a lot of things. It gives me clarity too. If I'm not doing those two things, then I'm always on the phone talking to my mom when she's available. And it's like every day I talk to her. She's like a confidant. I'll talk to one of my girlfriends of 18 years. I'm always talking on the phone with her. My sister comes down. She visits me like every couple of months, so I hang out with her. So I mean, I have different ways of like channeling my stress, and I talk to my husband, and that's it.
Yeah.
Soak in the tub. Yeah, and then that helps too because when we soak, it releases a lot of the stressors and stuff. And and I listen to my music. My music is everything to me. And people don't realize. I mean, people, those that love music, don't love music the way I love music because I love music. I will listen to music. My headphones, I was on now. I can listen to music and study for my exam at the same time. So I will multitask with the music in my ear, and I will go over the material and just get pumped up and do what I have to do. I will listen to music when I'm cleaning, and but that's how I don't clean that much. But I will when I'm cleaning, and also when I'm like cooking breakfast for my husband when he has to go to work, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, I mean
but I
music and meditation and all of the things that you talked about, like they're so critical, I feel like, for everyone to do whatever you're struggling with. You got to find the things that work for you. But the thing that really stands out to me about what you're talking about is that you have surrounded yourself with people who are supportive and loving and willing to, listen to you and talk with you and everything. Like that to me is really important. Just that community that you surround yourself with and the supportive friends and family members that you can connect with. Sounds like you've got a really good tribe around you.
do. I have a great tribe. If I didn't have my tribe, then I don't know where I'd be right now. I would probably be somewhere in the psychiatric ward trying to claw my way out. I mean, I went. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not gonna say the name of the location for legal purposes, but this location was horrible. I mean, they even said that they purposely turned off the volume of the cameras. I mean, like, why would you purposely turn off the volume of the cameras? Like, you have the cameras on, but no volume. So you mean to tell me that I mean that's shady right there. So God forbid if something was to happen and somebody or one of the patients get raped by another patient, she's screaming for help. You got it on camera, but you don't hear her screaming. No, I mean, it's just like they really need to just shut down the whole organization. It's just my personal take on it, but that's just a whole nother story in itself. So,
Yeah,
like
I
I
mean
said,
that's
yeah.
terrifying. That's awful. I wonder if it's so I know some states like I'm in Texas and it's a one party consent state for recording. So you don't have to say like, "Hey, I'm going to record this. Are you okay with me recording it?" You can just record it. Some states have a two party consent for recording, and then some states have a one party consent if there's no audio. I wonder if it's something like that where if they don't turn on the audio, then they don't have to have consent to record, which is a whole other like that's still shady.
Mhm. Exactly. So it makes you wonder, like, okay, what else are they hiding behind the scenes? I'm like, no, that's just not really cool. I said to myself, it's time for me. I think what was the turning point for me when I was in there that time was the person, the aide was like, yeah, I had a date in court, their court. He said, you don't have to go to court to get out. And I said, and it did just dawned on to me. And basically how he was putting it, and this was like on a Monday of that week, and my court date was Friday. And I somehow was able to get it together, and I said to myself, let me get it together now while I still can, because it was a window of opportunity. And if it wasn't for him putting that bug in my ear, I kid you not, I probably would still be in there trying to figure it out. But it was just like, oh, okay, I don't have to go to court. And they may have scheduled me to go to court to try to see what they're going to do with me. But I said, you know what? This is not for me. And I just started going back to the basics of what did I do, what they showed me in the other places to help me get myself back on my feet. And I started incorporating that, and that was it.
Yeah.
And here I am today. I'm not going back there. No, that was a nightmare. And sometimes I still have nightmares about it. I'm like, oof. But I just, my things, what I would encourage the listeners to take from that is, I mean, if you need help and you really have to go to a psych ward, don't be afraid to go, but don't stay long to what you have to. Just do what you're supposed to do. Listen to the aides, take the medications, be open if medications don't work for you so they can do the necessary adjustments. Talk to the people, be as open, go to as many activities as you possibly can, be involved, because this is about your health and your life. That's all that I can tell you. My best advice: don't be in there longer than you have to be. So
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it's why I like patient advocates so much, because they help you with like the administrative part of it, but that's not always an option. It's not always available. People don't always know that it's there if it is available. So, yeah, I mean, that's good advice. Like, do what you need to do and take the help that they're offering you, and then, take the good and leave the bad when you can. So, what
absolutely.
advice or words of encouragement would you give to someone, not necessarily about institutions, but someone who has recently been diagnosed with bipolar disorder? What would you say to them?
My advice to anybody that's just being diagnosed with any type of mental illness is to first, do not panic. It is not the end of the world. This is just the beginning. Just take a deep breath. It's gonna be all right, and just go with it. Don't take it upon yourself and fight the diagnosis. Don't fight against it. Just surrender to it. Try to, well, not even try, just embrace what it is. And let's just say you have bipolar disorder. I mean, don't fight against the fact that you have it. Don't look at it as a label. Don't make it your own stigmatism. Make it your own story and embrace it. And then just do the necessary steps. Come out the trenches. You're gonna come out on the other side a better person, a better human being. And then you're gonna find that you're gonna look back and say, "Oh, I was diagnosed, and here I am a year in, and I'm doing much better. I'm taking the medications. Don't stop taking the medications. It's gonna make you feel better, but the key to it is you have to stay better. Because that was the whole thing for me. I treated it as if it was a common cold. No, it's not a common cold. This is permanent. This is something that you need to take on a daily basis for the rest of your life. You're gonna have to do the necessary adjustments from time to time to adjust the levels, the dosages of your medication. But make sure you do that, because if you go, say, 6 months to a year of taking the same dosage of the medication, it's not going to have the same effect. But if you keep adjusting it every 3 to 6 months, then you should be fine. Just talk to your psychiatrist and you're going to be fine. You'll find the best method of what you have to do to make sure that you stay on an even kill. So don't sweat the small stuff. It's not the end all be all of having a mental illness. You are in the right company because I have bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
And that's my advice to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely very sound advice. Like, it's not the end of the world. You're going to be okay. That's the first thing to remember. And you gotta, do what you need to do to get your stuff sorted with the right providers, whether that is medication or not medication, whatever it is that's going to work for you. And that's for any mental illness or any illness in general. You got to work with the right people to make sure that you are getting taken care of in the way that you need to be taken care of. Absolutely. I want to go back to your tribe, right? So how can someone who doesn't have bipolar disorder be a supportive friend or family member to someone who does? I know you were talking about you've got your mom who you can talk to and your friends who you can talk to and everything. But if someone doesn't have bipolar disorder and they have a friend or family member who does, how can they be supportive?
How can they be supportive is just be there. I mean, because you don't treat your loved ones as a lab specimen and say, I don't know what to say. Just be there. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. Sometimes it's best that you go about it and just treat them like the way you always treat them, like your relatives. You love them, you can be supportive, hold their hand throughout the whole process. It's not, especially if they're just finding out themselves that they're bipolar, all they want is the love and support from you guys. Don't treat them any different. That's the worst thing you could do, is treat them like they're about to, like they have terminal cancer and they're contagious or something like that. No, they just want to be loved and they just want your support. Unconditional love and unconditional support are the two things that go hand in hand. And make sure that you're there for them. Like, just be there, have their back. That's all you can do. Don't change your ways for them. Don't change and say, "Oh well, I'm pulled back," but just come close to them, hold their hand through the process, like I said, and once you do that, then you'll see that they'll be more receptive. They'll be able to come to you, and when they share things with you, make them feel comfortable in sharing things that's going on with them without it being a judgment call.
Yeah, sitting and listening without judgment is, yeah, that's so, so valuable. Most definitely.
Yes.
And I think also just being willing to let someone talk and to hold space for someone because it's, I've been talking to someone at work who's having a hard time with some things, and I'm a positive mental health champion through my work. So I've been talking to this person and they'll call me and be like, "Hey, I don't need advice. I don't need intervention. I don't need anything, but I have no one to talk to about this." And I'm like, "Go off. Talk. Just talk my ear off. I don't care. I'll acknowledge that you're still speaking. You talk for as long as you want. I'm here to just listen." And sometimes that's what you need. You just need someone to listen and not try to help and not try to advise. You just need them to be there and listen. And I think that that's a something that goes overlooked, probably too much.
Absolutely right. So yeah, you need somebody that's going to be like that. No judgment. Talk somebody you can talk to without like offer a safe space, because that's what we are very keen on, having a safe space to talk in, so no one can say so when we talk in that safe space, we're feeling comfortable, we can share, and that's really what that is. So That's one of those key advice that I would give. Don't judge, because if you're judging us, then what's going to end up happening is we're going to pull back. We're going to feel we're gonna feel less than, and we're gonna feel bad. We'll say, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." We're gonna shut down. You don't want the person to shut down. You want them to come up and come out of that and be able to talk about it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any online communities or online resources if someone doesn't have this support group around them right in their general vicinity? Are there online things that people could go out that you would recommend for folks seeking support or even just information about bipolar disorder? Are there some things online?
there's an online community called NAMI, NAMI.org. If you want to go on there, they offer support for those that have a mental illness. If you look that up, that's one place. And then I forgot it was one more. I can't think of the name of it, but that's the one place that I would recommend my listeners to go to if you want to get help. It's called NAMI, and that's Nancy A and Miss Mary I.org. So that's a good place to start. And go to where else? Like I'll go to like local churches. They could direct you to like places online, or I would just Google like local has like I will Google it that because Google will give you pretty much everything that you want, but just be specific in your search and listen to different and podcast really does help. So you listen to mine, Nina, I am not my illness, and even tacos fall apart. So definitely, but you got your podcast, you got those as the go-to resources, and go from there. I really would encourage people to just do their research and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely ask the questions, especially when you know somebody that you know, or maybe you're the one that's in a crisis. Get the help. Don't be afraid to get the help because it's crucial because time is of the essence. You know how many people are out there right now. There's probably somebody out here now suffering that's afraid to come out of the shadows. Come out the shadows and come into the light, and let's talk about it. Let's get you that help, man. You know, let's hold your hand. I mean, I'm extending my hand out to those that need my hand, and take my hand and then let me pull you out of that, and then we can get you the help that you need. That's the best support that I can give you, but you have to be
Yeah.
willing to make that first step.
Right. Growling said the other one might be BP Hope. Is that one that you're familiar with?
I didn't hear that last part. It broke up.
BP Hope. Hope and Harmony for people with bipolar. Is that the other one you were trying to think of?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a good one. I just looked it up online real quick to see what it was, but it looks like a good one. I just popped that into the chat as well. And then I really think, going back to what you said just a minute ago about churches, I think that a lot of people overlook the services that a church will provide. I am no longer a Christian, but I still really feel like the church does a lot of good. And even if you are not a part of their congregation, even if you are not a part of their denomination, or even if you don't believe in God, you can still get help from a church. Like, they're still willing to help. It's part of their ministry. It's part of their work. They consider it their life's work. That's what they're there for, right? So, you can always call up a church. Well, I'm not sure what that was. Pumpkin?
What happened?
I don't know. There was just a really loud noise. Did you just do
Oh
something
wow.
loud? Oh, you got ice. Maybe that was it. I don't know. All of a sudden there was a loud. That had to have been what it was. But oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, nothing bad. Just just noises. But yeah, like a church can, they have a lot of services that some people just don't necessarily realize are an option, even if you are not part of their congregation or, like I said, part of their denomination. So I appreciate you bringing that up for sure. And then you mentioned your podcast as well. So what motivated you to start sharing your story publicly with your podcast, Nina? I'm not my illness. What made you start doing that?
I mean, I think it was when podcasting first came out. It came out, I guess, before what do you call it? The pandemic. And when the pandemic hit and we were all stuck in the house, and I first heard about it, I was like, podcast. That's a then I talked to my friend. I said, "Is podcasting a real thing?" She was like, "Girl, yes it is." I said, "Hmm." So it just dawned on to me, maybe I should start my podcast with putting my story out there about having disorder and telling my story and that kind of thing. My husband has been very supportive thus far. He says, maybe we'll heckle a little bit, make a little jokes and stuff because he's a jokester. But all in all, he's been very, very supportive. He said, your story can really change lives. And I said, yeah, that's the whole purpose of it. So I put my story out there. I I changed the name like twice. First, I just put it under my government name. And then I said, you know what? No, I didn't want to. And then I put it under the name that I use for the clubhouse. And then the name cemented because my granddaughter is going to call me Nina because that's my grandma name for her. So that's when the title came up, Nina, I am not my illness. I said, oh, okay, this is going to work. And that's how that all came about. I said, I really wanted to get the story out there. I wanted to, it wasn't really about money as opposed to just getting people to listen. And I think my first international country that started to listen, I think of course it was the United States, but the international country was India, and then it was Mexico. And I started really getting excited. I said, oh my God, I got 200 countries. My husband was like, great, great, keep going, keep going, keep going. So I'm putting out more shows, and then 2 other countries came on. It was like Canada, then it was Norway, uh, Guatemala, Germany. Germany is really at number 2. So I'm saying to myself, I'm being listened, being played in Germany, being played in Norway, and in the UK. And I'm fascinated with England. So one day I'm going to go and show my respect for England because it's being played out there. Singapore, Romania. I'm just looking at these stats and I'm like, oh my God, this is really, really great. I don't let it go to my head, but I'm just fascinated about where everything is being played. So I'm really just really, really grateful that my story is being put out there. I think what I need to do, because I'm trying to work with these women from the clubhouse. They said that what we need to do is dissect your podcast a little bit and put it on a different platform so that it can get even more airplay. And I'm like, that's fine with me. It's not about just money, but it's more or less to try to get the story out so it can be played everywhere. My goal, my main goal is to get the entire United States country to listen to my podcast before spring. I mean, I'm already close. I mean, I got Alaska, but I don't have Hawaii. I don't have Puerto Rico. I don't have Vermont or Maine or Iowa, I think it is. But I'm only like 7 or 8 states left. So I'm really excited. Like, the majority of this country is listening. So that right there in itself, in a nutshell, is pretty good. So I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool to have not only most states in the US, but also like whole other countries listening and everything. That's really cool. I love that. That's something that you know, yes, it's one thing to put a podcast out there, but then once you realize that people are actually listening and actually engaging and everything, it's like, okay, now I remember why I'm doing this, and I remember that there are people out there who I'm impacting and everything. So that's really cool. That's awesome. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so what impact do you hope that your podcast has on listeners, especially those who are dealing with bipolar disorder as you are? What do you hope they come away with when they listen to your podcast?
Well, I hope for my listeners to come away with is a sense of solace and knowing that there's somebody that is relatable to them, that they can say, oh, well, she gets us. She has bipolar disorder. She knows all too well what it's like to be in a gender. She's been where I'm at right now. So I'm going to listen to her podcast because she knows what she's talking about. So that's why I want them to come away with each of the episodes. I want them to listen to my story. I want them to say, oh, okay, so she is very vulnerable. All the years that I've had the podcast, I've never rehearsed. I never rehearse for any of my shows. Anytime I go and record, I record live and I post it up. And whether I make a mistake on a word or however it is, that's what you're going to hear. I'm very, very raw. I'm very authentic. And that's what I want my listeners to hear. They're like, oh my God, my transparency. I want them to say, oh my gosh, she's real. And it doesn't sound rehearsed. It's not like she's doing, I mean, no offense, we had to do sound checks here because we're doing it live. So that part I get. But me doing a recording, no, I'm going to just go live and go on the air and record it. And that's how, and when I do my interviews, I do it the same approach that I always do. I go in, I just ask the questions, or I let them talk about their who they are, and they tell me about their background, why they chose my show, that kind of thing. So that's really what I am. So the impact that I want my show to have and continue to have is a positive impact. I want them to make sure that they have all the tutelage that they need so they can live their best life.
I love that. And I mean, I feel the same way. Like, yes, I do preparation and stuff, but none of the things that I do on this show are ever rehearsed. Like, that's not something that I A, have the time or energy for. And B, feel like that's necessary. I think coming on here and being real and raw, and what you do with your show being that real and raw connection, is so powerful. And I want to read you this comment from chat because Autumn said, big respect for that. It takes strength to show your vulnerability. And I absolutely agree. It really does take a lot of guts and just like fortitude to put yourself out there week after week and say, like, this is me, this is real, this is raw, this is where I am with everything. So good job. I'm proud of you. I know chat is proud of you as well for doing what you do, and it is really, really valuable as well. And I know that Bymark is not here, but she sent this question ahead of time. So what is your favorite poem?
My favorite who?
Your favorite poem.
I really don't have a favorite poem. I really don't. I don't really read poems like that. I would have to look one up. I don't have a favorite poem.
Well, I know she'll take like favorite song as well.
I have a favorite song. I'm gonna tell you, as far as music is concerned, my favorite song is a house music called "Message of Love" by DJ Sneak. That's in It's on YouTube.
Okay, so I'll look up a link to that for sure. So DJ Sneak, Message of Love. I think it's, let's see. It looks like this might be it. All right, I'll have to find a link to it. Let's see. Oh, now it's gonna play. That's okay. I think this is it. I'm gonna put it in the chat, and if it's not the right one, I'll correct it later. But that's awesome. I mean, yeah, like songs and poetry and everything, they all go kind of hand in hand. So and songs are poems a lot of the time. So hey, that works for me. Well, it is time for the magic moment of the stream, and I have this beautiful magic wand here. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception or theory surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
Stigmatism.
Yeah. Yeah, just get rid of it. Totally, completely get rid of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Well, I'm going to post your socials one more time for folks to connect with you. If anyone is looking to connect with Nina, feel free to, kind of go to any of these: YouTube, podcast, Twitter, TikTok. All of those good things are on here. And Nina, I'll just open it up to you and say if there's anything we didn't talk about or anything you want to cover, now's your chance. Take it away.
Okay, if anybody has any questions for me right now is the perfect time. I'm open, willing, and able to answer any and all questions. No question is taboo, or I will leave no questions unanswered or no questions unturned. So if you want to ask me anything, just don't let it be too crazy or explicit. But I will answer any questions regarding my mental illness, that kind of thing. So please just ask away, because you never know, you might be saving somebody's life at this point. So I would rather hear the question, and then I'll be as open as possible with you and be able to save a person's life. So now's the time to come forward, ask away, ask me anything. I mean, I'll see if I can start off the question. Would I change anything about me having bipolar disorder? If you would have asked me that 20 years ago, would I change it? The answer would have been yes. I would have said, yeah, I don't want to have bipolar disorder. I don't want to be different. Now, I'm looking at it as it being God's calling, and He chose me to have this bipolar disorder. Therefore, it's my job to educate those who don't have it, or those who are just starting out in the beginning, and teaching them how to navigate through this mental illness to live their best life. And the next question would be, is it worth having bipolar disorder? Only if you're strong enough. And the answer is yes. I mean, it tests the people that are the strongest. It's not easy. It's going to be days you're going to wake up and you're going to ask yourself, how did I have this mental illness? Why am I having schizophrenia? Why am I having these thoughts? How can I? Why do I? Don't question it. Sometimes it's better to just go with it. Take your medications. Talk to your team of people. Get your tribe together immediately. Get your support system immediately. So your tribe is your vibe. Get your tribe together. It doesn't always have to be your family members. It doesn't always have to be just co-workers. It could be people that you've known for years. As long as you feel comfortable with the people that you're going to have on your team. As long as they're not going to be, as long as they're going to be bipartisan, that's the key thing. If they're bipartisan enough, yes. But they're going to judge and make it on a black and white level, no. So definitely. And I'm trying to think of other questions people may ask.
Well, and I'll throw in there also, like, if you're going, I don't have a tribe, I don't have anyone, I don't have anything. We've got a great community with Even Tacos Fall Apart, and we've got a great Discord community, and we've got great folks on Twitter who support each other all the time, great folks on Instagram who support each other all the time. So if you're looking for a community and you can't find one, reach out. Either reach out to Nina or reach out to myself, and we will find, the best way for you to connect in with the community, because we've got some fantastic people. And if you're looking for something more anonymous, I can help you find forums like the Heart Support Forum, where you can post anonymously and still get the support that you're looking for from people who are looking at it from a mental health perspective, and not just going, well, you can go on Reddit and ask for support, but you're going to get the trolls as well. There are different forums that you can go on and get the support too. So don't ever feel like, well, I don't have, we talk about all the time in the Discord, it's hard to make friends as an adult, So like, if you feel like you don't have any friends, or you feel like your family doesn't want to talk to you, or anything like that, we've got a great community that you can connect into. And I would encourage you to connect into that community and just ask for what you need. Ask to be supported in the way that you need to be supported. So
don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't. I encourage you. Please ask for the help that you need, man, because you never know. I mean, there's so many resources out there that have yet to be tapped as far as mental illness. People don't want to tap into the resources. They don't want to get the help. They're too ashamed to go in to get the help. But there's not a judgment thing. Go get help. Go out there. Just say, listen, be vulnerable. You don't know who else is going to be there with you on the other side. You have to be willing to say, okay, this is what I have. I have this. Own it. Take control of the mental illness before it consumes you. Because there have been plenty of times where I had my bipolar disorder and it has consumed me for that moment temporarily. And I burned a lot of bridges with my family members in particular. I mean, I'm just starting to get back into a comfortable space with them, but it's taken a long time. And some loved ones that I lost along the way, and the ones that I lost, I wish that they were there so they could understand that how I'm sorry how I had treated that person. But the, wait a minute, hold on. I don't know if you should take that. Well, I took it before. Be careful with that. Okay. Be careful. Be careful. I'm sorry, I'm saying something to me. All right, so back to what I was saying, guys. I want you to understand this. I mean, I'm glad that this journey that I'm on is taking me where it is, but I also want you to understand that you have to be willing to take that said journey, because it's not a destination. It's a journey when you have a bipolar disorder. It's a journey when you're on mental illness, period. And you gotta be willing to take the journey, whether how bumpy the road is or how straight the road is. You have to be willing to stay the course. And you have to be willing to take the good, the bad, and the in between, and just do what you have to do. I mean, don't be afraid to ask for help. Look at me. I'm living proof. You know what I mean? I have 2 children. Okay, my kids will tell you. My mother is very transparent. My mother is transparent. They know, my son, he'll tell you that I'm very transparent. I'm very open when it comes to my mental illness. Yes, I will. Yeah, you heard him. Yes, I will. He'll tell you. So, yeah, so that's just who I am. and I'm very honest when it comes to that. I don't want the viewers, the listeners to say, "Oh, I'm too scared because what if?" Forget the what ifs. Take that out of your vocabulary. Just say, you know what? I am going to get help. I'm willing to get help. I'm doing the help. Turn it into a positive. And I promise you, once you start doing that, it makes for a better um, trajectory and a better storyline for you for when you, like me, when I start writing my book and putting it out there. You know, it's not for money. It's about spreading the message. So you never know where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
But let it be positive.
Yep, that's true. And it's a choice too to do that also. It's a choice you can actively make. So okay, well, I don't see any other questions in the chat. So everybody, thank you so much for joining, for your comments tonight. I really appreciate it. And Nina, thank you so much for just a beautiful, wonderful conversation. I appreciate it so much. And just for taking the time to join us today also.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And that brings us to the end of another eye-opening episode of Even Tacos Fall Apart. I don't know about you, but I am feeling incredibly inspired and empowered after hearing Nina's story and insights into living with bipolar disorder. Embracing our diagnoses, prioritizing our mental health, and surrounding ourselves with a supportive community are all crucial steps in navigating the complexities of life with bipolar disorder. But it's not just about managing the highs and lows, it's about finding strength in vulnerability, resilience in adversity, and hope in the face of uncertainty. And that's something we can all apply to our own lives, regardless of circumstances. So as we go about our day to day, let's remember to be kind to ourselves and to others. Let's embrace the messy, the imperfect, and the downright chaotic moments that make us who we are. And let's never forget that we're all in this together. If you found today's episode as valuable as I did, I encourage you to show your support by liking, subscribing, and leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback and that engagement helps reach more listeners and continue spreading the message of hope, resilience, and acceptance. And hey, if you ever want to connect with me or share your own story, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on social media or shoot me an email anytime, and you can find me as @MommaFoxFire or at MommaFoxFire@gmail.com. Because Even Tacos Fall Apart is not just a podcast, it's a community, a support system, and a safe space for everyone to share their truth. Until next time, keep shining your light, embracing your journey, and remember, even tacos fall apart, and we still love them, and I still love you.